That way,
Let the game do my talking for me.
Yeah. It's just so awkward.
What are you watching?
Game of Thrones.
That explains a lot.
I'm playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Okay. So, did everyone get?
And we're gonna execute this woman.
Did everyone get the message about the topic?
No, what are we
On
working
how
on?
much games cost?
Oh no, we changed it. We're doing Halo spin-offs that we would like to see.
Okay.
Oh.
Hang on.
Well, I will be able to provide
go in the
minimal
bedroom?
insight.
No? Okay.
Oh no, just like anything you want to see, because they're investing really heavily into Halo right now. If that rumor is true about the $550 million budget for Halo Infinite, which is like
Well,
That's amazing.
that's
a huge budget, yeah.
That's more than like I think any media form ever. Like maybe Super Bowl has a larger budget. I don't know how Super Bowl works.
I really do hope they don't fuck it up with that kind of budget. I'm sure the producers are expecting a good payback
We have
to
made
cough up that much money.
We've made Anthem 1.0, but slapped Halo's name on it. With $550 million.
Looter shooter.
There is a
Master Chief is the
rumor.
main bad guy.
There's a rumor that it's going to be open world looter shooter.
What is the
my
worst thing that
goodness.
they could do to mess
Make
it
it-
up for you? Like they
Battle Royale.
Make it a
Battle
make
Royale.
it a make it a driving game, driving battle royale.
Oh man, yeah, that would be bad too.
Oh,
a battle royale driving game. You had to go find your car and then join the race.
You get to splatter
Oh my
everybody.
God.
That would actually be kind of cool. Like a
Right, it was
demolition
kinda like
derby.
Death Race.
Demolition derby where you start out, everyone just lands and they have to run to different cars. The poor people that don't get
Yeah,
in
Death
just
Race
get.
is my favorite Jason movie.
So, what is that loud noise?
Sorry, I'm still playing Assassin's Creed. Let me know when we start.
Oh, I've been recording
You know
for
what
the
would be
last
cool?
like 3 minutes.
let's go to say I bet he's been recording.
Fair enough.
Guess what, everybody? We're recording.
Plot twist.
So is this going to be a PG-13 podcast, or are we allowed to use profanity?
Whatever you want. Absolutely fine by me.
Ooh,
What's your profanity?
man. Say whatever I want. Never had that kind of power.
I'm just saying,
You can't say
the
the
Halo
N-word, can
ODST style game where you play the Covenant instead of the humans. You're a lone grunt.
I hope not a suicide
So-
grunt, because you only have one option.
Okay. So, not actually a bad idea.
Not as a grunt though. I can see it as an
Imagine-
elite when
Yeah.
they're in the hostile takeover of the brutes.
Or you could play as a grunt in the, well, they already did an elite in the hostile takeover of the brutes. That was like Halo 2 story.
Well, I'm saying like not necessarily
Like, not
Arbiter.
the Arbiter. Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
You could have,
Who was the shipmaster? Like, doing stuff from his perspective would be kind of neat.
like, fighting from a
He
ship.
was,
That would be cool, like, piloting a ship.
Well, yeah,
Like
well,
a
not even
big-
necessarily that, but like he was running around with the humans while Master Chief and the Arbiter were basically doing all the work, but he was fighting off all of the ground forces.
It'd be cool.
So like a what was that saying?
It would be cool to have, like, a massive, like, space battle one where you control a Covenant carrier, where you do play as a shipmaster, you're controlling a Covenant carrier. Think of, like, Battle Stations Midway or one of the Battle Stations games, but, like, in space as the Covenant. in a,
That honestly
that would
was
be
one of the
so cool.
things that I wanted to see more of.
After
was like ship
Reach.
battles.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially after they gave us those ships in Reach, and they had like that whole level based around it, but they just never went back to that.
Yeah,
I'll
I
be honest
agree.
with you though, that level felt incomplete. You know, like I don't know. It felt like it could have been really cool in Reach, flying around in space, shooting stuff. But replaying the game not too long ago, I was just kind of like, this is probably my least favorite part
Yeah,
out of the whole
I
game.
mean,
It just
especially
felt
on
kind of just like random.
legendary difficulty, it was awful.
Oh God.
Remember when we did the co-op playthrough on legendary and we kept dying through that? That was just
See,
awful.
I don't remember having too terrible of a problem with it on Legendary. I remember
Well, it
it
was
just being
in
kind of
Legendary.
annoying.
I think if it was like if you and your teammate, like if one of your, like if you're playing with like co-op,
We
or
played
something,
one of
if
the.
one
We
of you
had one of the
dies,
skulls on, I think.
it starts over.
Yeah.
Oh, I was
It
gonna
starts.
say,
It restarts from the checkpoint. I think it was iron.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
if you had iron on, it would. If either of you died, it restarted from the checkpoint.
Which is a lot more forgiving than playing solo, where it restarts the entire mission.
Yeah.
So, you know what
I
would be
remember we
cool?
played the Spartan Ops, and it was
Oh,
on Legendary, and it was just to the point where it was like, oh, go back to the safe spot so I can respawn.
Just run in there, shoot a little bit, run back.
What I always thought would be cool would be having like a Spartan Ops, like similar to Spartan Ops, where it's like you have your own custom Spartan and everything, but have it be a game set around the headhunters in Halo, which were the Spartans that were like assigned to kill, high political figures and stuff throughout the universe. And
That would be legit.
but have it be like where you like customize, you earn credits for each kill, you are able to customize your armor, you're able to make your character more beefy or more fast, or augment them differently, have like black market augments, because these guys, there's no real canon lore about them. So have it be where everything is, you're able to control what you get to put into your Spartan and what comes out of it.
That would be kind of neat.
Everyone just got
like
so
the
quiet.
idea. Well,
I was taking the idea.
I was imagining that. Yeah.
So like the books, I forget, there's a Spartan 2 team that there's books that are based about, and I think it's Grey Team, that like go missing in the or they don't go missing, but they go rogue or whatever. I guess they send them off to basically do their own thing, and having a game based about them where it is like that, where you go onto the black market and you're able to do different things, because they basically get they basically get sanctioned by the UNSC, where they're able to do whatever they need to do to disrupt the Covenant. And it'd be cool because you could start out with the UNSC insurrection forces to start out, and then work your way into the Covenant, because that's what the Spartans were originally designed, was for the insurrection forces to fight them, but then the Covenant attacked Harvest. So that would be such an interesting game, and like a different story to mold around. I'll let you guys speak now. Sorry.
So basically, like just before Reach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So,
I was thinking like it could look like a Star Wars Republic Commando kind of game.
I had a similar idea to that, based around the whole before the Covenant showed up, where it's just kind of insurrectionists and the UNSC fighting. I like the idea of a Republic Commando kind of. You mentioned that, Yair.
Honestly, that game just needs to be remastered. Would be amazing.
That game was great, so I could see that with just like a small squad of Spartans.
Yeah, I really love that game. So honestly, the idea of like that with Spartans, that would be really cool. But it's kind of, I guess that would kind of be what Reach was almost when you first joined the first mission. You're joining in as the new guy for this, small team of pretty much suicide Spartans.
So it would be what would be interesting is if they have it where it's similar to Reach, where you're working with a small team, but at the same time it's not NPCs that you're playing with, it's other players, and it's like, oh, join in progress, or play with friends like a co-op shooter, but having it be like sort of this RPG element where you're able to do different things to yourself, not to yourself, but to your Spartan, to increase, different stats and attributes within.
I would definitely like to see an RPG styled Halo game, because I know they had like the MMO in the works for the longest time, and then it got scrapped. And that to me sounded like a really kind of neat idea.
I feel
I
like
think in that one you started
online
off as like
that
a
would be kind of slippery slope-ish.
I want to say in that you started off as a Marine, and then like you could work your way up to various certain positions, but I mean there wasn't a whole lot developed for it. So
yeah, so there was one game that was supposed to be planned by Bungie after Halo Reach, and it's not a Marine. It sounded like you were actually a Forerunner when you're playing, so it's taking place during the Human Forerunner War and then the Forerunner Flood War. But it sounded interesting, but it was before they made a lot of Forerunner lore and human lore canon. So they kind of had to scrap everything after that, because it was like you were able to fly outside a spaceship, or you like were able to destroy spaceships with your mind or something. But it was before, yeah, it was.
That just seems so ridiculous now that we know what the Forerunner are.
Right. So
Mind
that's why they kind of had to go, no, we can't do that anymore. But what was interesting is a lot of those elements were taken, like one of them was, oh, you charge up your fist and you crash into a ship and it blows up the ship. Now,
so that's for like the whole
like
thing.
Destiny,
Yeah.
with the Titan Smash, and they had like something similar to Nova Bomb, I'm pretty sure. So they were, I don't know.
Well, I was
if
even
it was,
thinking like the armor lock ability could be, similar to that, where you, instead of punching the ship, you're just, I'm gonna hit the ground and.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of
slippery. Like, I don't
there's
know.
some
So
yeah,
hear me
anything. Okay.
out. Hear me out. A horror-based Halo game, as you play a Marine, discovering one of the first flood sites.
Oh, that would be pretty creepy.
Kind of like
The first
Alien
time,
game,
the first
the newer one, the horror-based one.
where you're hiding.
Yeah, it'd be more
and
shooter-based,
trying to avoid
but
it. Yeah, that would be kind of, because like the first level in Halo Combat Evolved, whenever you come across the flood, you have no idea what they are, and you're just walking through the library, or not the library, that facility.
Yeah.
And then you just start discovering, the various clues. And then after you watch that video, and it's just like the flood just come out of nowhere, and they're everywhere, and you're just running the whole time trying to shoot your way through. That could be done really well if you took like that kind of perspective of a horror game.
That's one of the things I miss about the newer ones, honestly, because I remember
The flood.
Of course, being younger and playing these levels, it felt scary. Like it was just like, if you play it now and you look at it, you're like, why was I scared of this? This is
Halo.
Yeah.
polygons running at me. But
Well,
back at the time, you're watching this and you're like, holy crap, these tiny things, I don't know where they're coming from. They're everywhere. And then now when you play the modern Halo, like Halo 5, Halo 4, I know there's something so less terrifying about the Covenant and terrifying
the
about
Prometheans. Yeah, the Prometheans are just
the
like,
Prometheans.
we're robots.
It's
Yeah.
not as scary anymore. You don't
Although-
see them and you're like, oh my god.
So- I will agree with you up until, because the Prometheans, when they melted that like space station in Halo 4, where it was the one doctor and Chief's like kind of reaching out to her and her face starts disintegrating, the last Halo M-rated game that we had. Her face like disintegrates and you see her skeleton and then it just turns to ash. That was pretty terrifying in my opinion.
That was pretty neat.
I don't think
the
it
weapon was
concept
terrifying.
that they could do that, yeah.
But
I don't think it really matches like the Flood's level of threat.
Well, I think the thing was too is like up until that point, you hadn't encountered anything remotely like it.
Exactly. They did
strong.
Or in those numbers.
Like even in the
Well, you think
trailers,
about, like Halo 3, like they even held the creepiness in Halo 3. Like after you've seen the Flood, you've seen the Covenant, that level where the Covenant ship land, the Flood taken over ship lands, and the Arbiter's like, "Oh, more Covenant," and Master Chief turns around and says, "Worse." That level, that
right?
And it was so creepy.
Well, the way they set that up too, because like you see it flying in and it's got all that shit kind of coming off.
Camden timed out.
Yeah.
No, I agree though. That part was just it's built it up to be this really creepy, and then the whole atmosphere of the game changes from the previous. You go back through the level that you just came through, and it doesn't feel like we're walking through the same area because it's so much different. There's dead Marines. There's a Marine cowering, going like, I don't know what to do.
That's something that they've done very well with what they did very well with the Flood was each time we saw them in a new game, they appeared more advanced. So like Halo 1, we see them, they're kind of like, they're tough to kill or to fight somewhat. Gotta reinvite Camden, hold on.
It's supposedly in the lore of the Flood, when they take someone over, they get their knowledge too, right? I don't remember if I read that in that comic series that came out around the time Halo 3 came out.
Yeah, that's correct. It takes them some time, though. That's why Keyes was able to... Because Keyes knew the location of Earth, so they have to, like, break different mind barriers and stuff. It's a little confusing. But yeah, that makes them a little bit more terrifying too. But they did a good job from between Halo 1 through 3 of really building up the Flood. Like the first time you encounter them, like I was saying, they're kind of squishy enemies. You can't kill them with sniper rifles, which was like a shocker the first time. I remember playing and picking up a sniper rifle and being like, "You're all gonna die," and then hitting a Flood and nothing happening to it. Like, oh.
Yeah. Swords
passing through.
Shotguns were the way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. But then Halo 2...
Oh, man.
Halo 2 just
Halo
had
1, though, it was all about ARs. ARs and plasma rifles.
I still think shotguns for Halo 1. But...
Shotguns, if you could get them, but...
Yeah, they were so rare in Halo 1. Halo 2 had them pretty easy to get. Halo 2's Flood, to me, I felt like...
Sorry.
It's okay.
One of the levels from Halo 2 that I really enjoyed, and it wasn't a Flood level, but it was the Covenant one, where you first play as the Arbiter, going to kill the Rebels.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I really enjoyed that one, because you get to see the Covenant from a different perspective, and how this was more than a religion to them. This was their way of life. This was their thing, and anybody who said anything otherwise was a,
heretic.
Was speaking blasphemy and heretic. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. One thing that would have made that so much better that I believe it came out with the remastered edition was that little like cutscene with the Monitor going to that facility and then talking to him. Like that really.
In the
when I saw that really dialed it home. I'm like, man, this is perfect for it. It sets that whole level up.
It gives backstory. Yeah, it was the terminals. It was one of the terminals in Halo 2, or maybe in Halo 1 even, because Halo 1 set up backstory too, I think, for Halo 2. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you in terms of like showing this whole other side of the Covenant. It shows like a conflict within them. And I think that was something that, they did well in Halo 2. I feel like it would be interesting to have a game where it's the Grunt Uprising and you can play as.
Yeah.
But imagine
you
one
play
where
as there's an arbiter in that too.
Mm-hmm. They appointed a new arbiter to like destroy the grunts, I think, but or not destroy the grunts, but quell
that uprising. Yeah.
I think that having a game like that where it's Covenant, it's not necessarily human versus Covenant, but like Covenant versus Covenant, and having it be a sort of split story, like having it be like you can play one side totally all the way through and make it like a 4.5 hour campaign, and then you can play the other side 4.5 hour campaign, and having it be like you can see both the ways that they interact with what the other faction is doing would be really cool to see.
I think what would really make this game would be this, like, the characters. Cause, like, if they did it like where you're talking about, like, you play one side first and you play the other side, and they made it where you really enjoy these characters, and even though it's only 4 hours to really get into them, like, like on the Halo 2 mission, as you're going through this Rebel Covenant area, I don't know about you guys, but I wanted to protect my other elites. I was like, these are my elites. We're going in here. We're the bomb diggity. And when they died, I was like, no, my friend.
You could sort of care less about the grunts and jackals, though. It was just kind of like,
oh, yeah. They were cannon fodder.
The elites were definitely...
Or grunts and jackals.
Well,
but then
they talk about in the books, like, the grunts just throwing themselves headlong into, like, death, so clearly they don't care very much either.
It's like if you did that with one side and you created these really strong characters, and then when you play the other side, you kind of like you have to go and make the choice of whether you're going to kill these characters because they're the opposite side, or they'll kill the characters from new side, and I don't know. It could get very Games of Thronesy kind of.
Right, you've developed this connection to a character, and then it's like, oh, they're dead. And it's your fault.
Yeah,
that would be rough.
Yeah, like you killed them. You were fighting that mission.
Like, what was Spec Ops? Did anyone ever play that game?
No, I keep getting told to play it. I hear it's really good.
It always, like, you get a bunch of decisions throughout it, and like some of them appear good on the surface. Like, obviously, I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but there's one thing that is like, you're like, we need to do this, and it sort of pushes you in that direction, but it ends up being an awful, awful decision. But yeah, if they make a game similar to that, if they, this is all just speculation, because it's been, it'd be cool to see a bunch of Halo spin-offs that were
right
discussing, because now I'm like I would absolutely
thing.
play these games. But
yeah, I highly doubt they're gonna make, like, Halo Infinite is gonna be like a horror game before you play the Covenant.
Yeah,
right.
I highly doubt that anything like that's gonna happen soon.
I wanted to actually go back and touch on that. Imagine it being like a Halo horror game where it's a roguelite, where you go in, you die, and you have to restart. And having it be like pushing through a dungeon in like a regular roguelite, where you have to go in, if you get killed, you have to restart. It'd be like, oh, we're sending another squad of Marines in to see what happened to this squad. Granted, you could only say that so many times.
It would be kind of neat, too. Like, where you died, and you're going against Flood, you see your old team.
Yeah. You can pick up, like, old gear or anything to drop.
Flood.
That'd be cool, seeing them get infected right in front of you, like your old squad.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, like, to see your Flood team.
It's kind of like, if you played Halo Wars, I don't remember if it was the first one or the second one, but you watch your team die, and you see the little Flood jump on them, and they immediately turn into the opposite side.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, no, my infantry. Or,
you're like, oops.
My, flamethrowers and stuff.
Should have invested in tanks.
Yeah, right? But it's kind of like that. That would be cool. Where you could see your own people. You create their own army.
Right.
So I've always wondered what it would be like if we had a Battlefield-esque Halo game, but from like a Marines point of view, and then Spartans could be like the special characters that you unlock, based off of battle points or whatever.
And they could have different abilities. Like Kelly was always known to be the fastest runner out of all.
Right. And I would kind of base that around the whole uprisings with the humans. That way that you don't have to have, the whole issue with, we've got elites and Marines fighting each other, because that wouldn't really make much sense. Or grunts running around.
When you say Battlefield-esque, what do you mean? Like the large-scale battles? Or...
Yeah, I mean like large-scale battles, because then we'd have like Scorpion tanks where you've got infantry running alongside of it, and they're actually like these gigantic tanks. And the class systems that go along with Battlefield. So like you'd have like a recon build that would have sniper rifles and I don't know, like DMRs, that sort of thing.
Anti-material, like like the anti-material rifles and the Gauss rifle and stuff from Halo 4 and 5. That would be interesting, because it would add like this sort of dynamic where you could see really how powerful the Spartans are in comparison to like a regular Marine, because they would be quite more squishy.
On it. Yeah. Yes. It'd be essentially kind of like with Battlefront with the Jedi dropping down, because they, once a Jedi character gets in there, they're just tearing through infantry. And I could see Spartans being kind of like that, where they're just tanking damage and they're hard to put down. You're just dumping so much of your resource.
Unless it's me.
I mean, it's not like they haven't already keyed some of this stuff out, because Halo Wars takes that same sort of type of thing.
Right, with the Spartans.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see...
They're mostly special.
I'd like to see like a Halo Wars game where you're like in a 1v1 fight and you're playing as the UNSC, but then your hero character actually drops down and it puts the like real-time strategy into a AI controlled version, like be like, oh, Cortana, I'm going in, and like having Master Chief drop down or something and fighting like in a first person perspective. I think that would be very cool.
There's a game similar to that. I can't think of the name of it, but it's on PC, where it's like a 5v5 match and 4 players are on a team in first person mode, and then the 5th player has like an overview of the whole battlefield, and they're calling in reinforcements and like support stations and shit like that for them. That would be kind of neat to have a Halo-esque version of that.
That's sort of what Fable Legends was going for, where it was 4 versus 1, but the one controls like enemy spawns and stuff.
That was not good at all, though. I've played it a few times, and
they had an issue with balancing.
They really did.
I can imagine something like that would be difficult to balance.
But if you have $550 million going into it,
you better be doing a hell of a lot of testing.
That's the trump card. Point. Like anytime you say like a negative, I'm gonna be like, you have $550 million going into this. Please don't mess it up. Watch their like Halo Infinite will have microtransactions.
God,
No
microtransactions, please.
At least they stated that they weren't going to have a battle royale.
I mean, the microtransactions were in 5. It wouldn't be too much of a stretch to automatically assume they are going to put it in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I assume the cards game nowadays will have it, because it's just kind of the way it works.
Yeah, but I think I don't know. Like Warzone was fun to a point. Because then you work this hard and get a really cool gun, and then you would use it, and then immediately you lose it because you get sniped by somebody, and that was the only part you had for that gun, or something like that.
I hated that aspect of that. Too many times I had like this super rare something named weapon, and I wouldn't use it because I was too afraid that I'm going to spawn and immediately get killed trying to defeat this dude at the last second.
Yeah, I haven't played it in a while, so I don't know if there's been any changes. But the last time we did, that was a major problem.
Yeah, I didn't like that aspect because it would be like if you spent actual money on a pack and it contained like the rarest item in the game, and you spawn in with it, and then you get dinked. I'm trying to snap. Dinked right off the bat. You just wasted like $3 on a gold pack. So hopefully,
therein lies its problem.
The cosmetic stuff was the only thing that made this worth it, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I honestly I didn't like most of it. It just seemed too like a lot of it to me looked like football pads that you would be throwing on. And I just looked at it and couldn't take it seriously. I cannot see a Spartan. I can't see a Spartan wearing that.
For me, I think that kind of boiled down to art design, which I'm not saying was necessarily bad, but it was kind of like, this doesn't really look like Halo. I mean, it does and it doesn't. Like
it had that. I don't know. I think, like, I know Halo 1 had a very like bulky looking suit, and then they started like slimming it. Like 2 and 3 was the last time we really saw a massively bulky suit. Because even on Halo Reach, you could have a relatively slimmer look.
Well, like Kat had a real sleek suit on, especially when compared to George. He was like a tank walking around.
I mean, just look at her helmet. Oh wait.
Too soon.
Yeah, that was a really slim helmet. Oh, poor Cat.
I remember when I played Reach for the first time, and Yair was like, "Here, you need to play Reach." And then after that point, I was like, "I'm done."
So, my original copy of Reach had a issue where it wouldn't render certain things. So it actually didn't render the bolt hitting her head. So it looked like she just kind of had a stroke and died, and I was so confused when I first played through it. I was just like, it looked like she just kind of fell over. I was like, wait, what? And then it just shows a jackal or an elite, and I'm like, what?
I think it was a jackal.
No, it wasn't a jackal. It was no, it was an elite. It was like a commander or something.
It was just so confusing.
She was sniped out by a jackal.
Zealot. I think it was a zealot headdress for it.
It just kind of looked like she tripped over something and died, and then like you run back out and grab her, and I'm like,
oops,
what?
I tripped and died. Superhuman strength and training, trips on a rock and dies.
On Halo Infinite.
What do we want to see on Halo Infinite?
Like what's something that you think would be cool to see in there? I really want to see the return of Flood.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yes.
So
I'm tired of the artificial caring I need to have for everything related to the humans in the Covenant nowadays. Give me back the Flood.
If Halo Infinite does happen to be like a looter shooter similar to Destiny, imagine how cool raids would be, like in Forerunner structures going up against Flood and Covenant and just everything banished.
Oh, like an actual fight against the Gravemind? That would be fucking awesome. Yeah, there's like a giant room that's super dark and infested with Flood shit. And then it pops out of the ground and the tentacles shoot up and they're swinging all over the room.
And then the game's
That would
rated
be
T,
pretty
so
cool.
they're like, no, we're retconning Gravemine's out of the game. We can't have gore in this game.
Oh, whatever. Be a
There's
man.
a pony for you to fight.
Step up to the M.
Honestly, I think that's one thing I do miss, like the M rating and their willingness to show, a Marine's eye getting popped out by the flood or something.
Yeah.
Right. The transformation animations from Halo 3, where you see the spore or the infection form like get on the chest and start burrowing in. That was always
Right.
so, like that was the big step up between Halo 2 and Halo 3 for me, because Halo 2, the Flood were more like gory, I feel like in terms of being able to shoot them and them explode everywhere, versus Halo 1. But then Halo 3 was like, yeah, we're going to just take that to a whole new level and make it so they're ripping people apart, basically, right in front of you.
Yeah. As long as they don't bring back those, like, flood that turn into turrets. I don't know
The
if you guys
pure
remember
forms?
that, but... Oh, yeah, it was like on the Halo 3 when you're trying to go into the area where it's just like the last mission.
They could
And
like
they just hang on the walls and turn
transform
into turrets.
Yeah.
Yeah,
those
so
I hated those. Legendary
The-
sucked
the-
on with those.
the lore for all that stuff is there, but I mean, they can always just change the types that we see, because it's not like we know what all pure forms exist. And from what I understand, the lore for those guys too is they're super rare. It's like the last stages of a grave mine taking over, because it costs so much in resources for a grave mine to make one of them.
I think the biggest thing for Halo Infinite is going to be replayability and what draws people back to the game day after day. I think that's an issue.
Like if it's a looter shooter, it's probably going to be like
That's an issue they're all
raids
kind
and
of...
stuff. Yeah.
Well, that's
They can't pump it out fast enough.
That's so the double-edged sword. Like
What
kind of want it not to
you
be
can't-
like something
yeah,
that you
you
could go like one to just kind of keep playing over and over again, because then it becomes grindy. But then you have like
Right.
these great games that you can play once and get full satisfaction of it, like God of War and like The Last of Us. You play them and you're like, oh my god, this is it's a satisfying experience. I'm completely happy with this game once you're done with it. And if you want to play it again, you can. But it's one of those, like, I played it, I finished it, I'm happy with the story, it was amazing, and because they don't focus on replayability, but then you have like these games that focus too much on replayability, and they ignore the story to kind of give you that grindy feel.
right.
Yeah.
Anthem.
That's what are they doing for multiplayer? Do we know?
Nothing yet. I think that's something
Okay.
that Reach did very good, was having something for you to chase without it being like, I have to replay this over and over and over to get this one specific item. It's something that you build up over time. And I know that they said that armor customization is going to be similar to Reach's. I don't know how similar. I don't think anybody does except for the people working on the game. But
if it's based off the structure where it's like helmet, chest, arms, knee pads, that sort of basis, I would say that's probably a good place to be.
But the other thing
Yeah,
is...
because then you have more customization options too.
Right.
But the other thing is, what exactly does that mean for Halo's story, where we're playing as the Master Chief? Are we going to be able to see him in cutscene with these different armors, or is he going to be wearing the traditional,
I think that would be like a multiplayer thing. Kind of like they've been doing it, where you play the main story as these characters with these set armors, and then you play the multiplayer with your character with your own armor. Though, I will say, seeing your character with your armor in the storyline is probably one of my favorite things. I love it because it gives you this level of
I was about
immersion.
to say that too. That was one of the things I loved about Reach, was the fact that the cutscenes would change when you changed your armor. So it really felt like, oh, this is me. This is my character.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it could do that. I know there's, a lot of rumors and stuff going around, and it could all be false, but it was like, the idea of it being an open world, looter kind of thing. It could be because at the end of Halo 5, Cortana turns off all technology, doesn't she, with the big
Earth.
At Earth?
Yeah,
Well, like, I was thinking it could be where everybody's, there's no technology left. There's no one really creating. Civilizations are dispersed. So you go out and you have Master Chief's armor to begin with, but then you try to get better armor, so you have to find it. You have to craft it. You have to find people who know how to make this technology. Maybe it would be something like that. Where,
well, what if it's that is the end game? What if at the end of Halo Infinite, Master Chief dies? Okay, this is a theory. I don't write for 343, but at the end of Halo Infinite, Master Chief dies, but it opens up this looter shooter end game on a Halo ring. But your Spartan, if you ever wanted to replay the campaign, you'd still play as Master Chief, but your Spartan would show up occasionally from the end game throughout cutscenes, and he'd be wearing the armor that you had equipped for him.
Well, I don't want to see Master Chief die, so...
Okay, let me change this. Okay.
For me, he died at the end of 3, so I'm kind of used to the concept of Master Chief dying.
Oh, God.
He's one of those people. Halo 4 had the best story. Best development, character development.
When Halo 3 came out for me, like, we were all expecting that to be the end of the story for him, so it was no surprise to me at the end when he kind of drifts off into space and this whole, funeral is held for him. Oh, he's dead. Like, that was no surprise to me, but I wasn't expecting Halo 4, so...
Yeah,
okay,
I will say the ending of 3 was disappointing for me, just because I really liked the Chief, and I was like, man, they're just going to do him like that, where they just let him drift in space. I don't know, like, I wanted some more closure of him coming back as a hero, but then seeing him in Halo 4, where he's literally gone through hell and back, and he's still doing the same thing over, and still, it was sad.
I think Halo 4 had the best character development for Chief.
I thought it had the best character development for Cortana.
I mean, Chief was like,
she was just so humanizing in that, and I'm like, oh my God, Cortana, you're gonna make me cry right now.
And then she's
you're like a real person.
And then at the very end of it, she's like, I touched your nipple. That's all I've ever wanted to do with my life. And then she disappears.
It's all that we ever want to do with our lives.
So
Chief's nipples.
Fun fact, for Halo 4, I actually had a rendering issue as well, and it didn't have Chief's armor at the end, so Cortana touched his nipple.
Sam
and she said,
putting nudie mods on his game.
She said, I always wanted to do that. And I was so confused.
That's one way to ruin that scene for yourself.
What is up with you getting, like, defunct Halo games?
Anyone who watches this is never going to be able to play Halo 4 again.
You should put that as a warning.
Yeah, spoilers. Jeez.
I don't think it's been out how many years at this point. If you haven't finished it, I'm sorry. It sucks.
I know. Don't do that. There's no.
It's like I never really watched The Sixth Sense, but I found out spoilers for it, and at this point, I'm just like, I'm not even upset. It's been long enough where I should have watched it.
You do have some weird issues with your Xboxes, though.
Yeah. Or just the games that you get.
Oh, I was just joking about that, by the way. I hope everyone realizes that.
Oh. No, totally
no,
believe it.
So the
I still believe it.
The cat thing actually happened. Cat had a rendering issue where she fell over, and Emil, there was something weird with Emil's helmet where it was like part of it would kind of appear shadowed, which was always weird. I'm actually looking at the Halo Reach cover art right now, like just on my Xbox screen, and I just realized that it looks like a Forerunner ship in the background, and I've never noticed that. I feel like an idiot because I've never noticed that. Now I have to look it up and see if it's actually a... Oh boy, what did I do on Reddit? Oh, never mind. Let me see. Is everyone looking up the Halo Reach box art now?
Yes.
Like in the clouds, there's a Forerunner ship. I've never noticed that. How have I never noticed that? I feel like an idiot.
That's not a Forerunner ship. That's a Covenant ship.
That's what I meant. Covenant ship. Sorry.
Oh, I was like, Forerunner. What?
Yeah, there's a Covenant ship in the background, and I've never seen it, and I'm just now looking at it, and I'm like, oh.
I need to send you...
Sorry, go ahead.
Have you played GoldenEye? I'm assuming yes, for like Nintendo 64.
Yes, I actually own it.
Okay, the front picture for that, where it's got Bond holding the gun up, and it's like right at his face. There's a meme somewhere. It's like once you see it, you can't unsee it, and it's literally his mouth extended to his hand because the way his hand is positioned, it just looks like his mouth is gigantic. Yeah, no joke.
That's like
now I'm looking that up because I'm curious.
It's like the Tom Cruise has a tooth in the middle of his head.
Exactly.
Like
yes,
he has
like that.
He has a tooth that is dead centered, and it is never gonna leave my mind whenever I see a Tom Cruise movie. Like most people, when they think of Tom Cruise, think of him awkwardly running, but all I think of is tooth middle head.
I don't see it. All right, say it again, because I'm looking at this.
Tom Cruise has a tooth in the middle of his head.
You see it, Alicia?
Oh, because of the...
It's supposed to be his hand, yeah. Oh my god, I can't unsee it now.
Literally,
you're probably wondering how I got these scars.
Here's Brosnan. Like, that's all I see. Yeah, the original Joker.
He has a bigger mouth than the guy from Aerosmith.
Oh, like I was saying though, Halo's live action trailers are the best in the business.
Yes.
Yes.
Halo ODST trailer where it starts where they're at the funeral. It's still one of my top favorite.
That one is
trailers.
That one and Reaches are my favorites. That one is so cool because it's circular, where it starts out at a funeral and it ends at a funeral, where it's at the funeral at the it's the makeshift funeral basically.
And he's basically become like the leader, where he was looking up to the guy in the beginning.
And even like the music for that one is just.
Oh yeah,
I'm doing Italian hands right now.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like the
trailer
Gaelic
made
singing.
me want the game. Like I saw the gameplay trailer and stuff, and I was like, "Yeah, that's cool." But then I saw that trailer, and I was like, "I have to get this game."
Did you guys
if it's anything remotely near it?
When Halo 3 came out, did you guys ever log on when they had that giant like interactive map you could look at?
No. So
I was a late Halo player, so
okay. So
stuff, yeah.
The whole thing for that was they, like when they first came out for the commercials for that, it was like this claymation sort of deal, with a brute holding Master Chief up in the air like he's dead, and then you just see like his
the museum,
and he's got a plasma grenade or whatever. So apparently they put it up on the website so that you could control where you looked through the entire map, and you got like a walkthrough of everything going on.
I remember that. That is true.
Yep.
I do remember being able to go through it.
That.
And at like the very end of the whole thing, so it goes back to the Master Chief because he's at the very end, and right as you scroll up to him, you see like this. It kind of does this glitch effect on the screen, and then he's looking up, and he's got a live plasma grenade in his hand. Like that was so top notch.
Yeah, that was definitely that definitely was cool. I do remember seeing that back in the day.
You know, I don't remember. I don't remember.
He's on the back of a hunter, right?
A brute is holding him up.
It's like a brute chieftain.
I don't remember a live action trailer for Halo 4 or 5. Oh no, Halo 5 had the whole hunt the tree
running through the city streets,
which was just total, false advertising of the story.
Yeah, the way they portrayed that, I was like, oh man, so is it like a choose your sort of path because it's this dude versus it's Locke versus Master Chief? And then you play it and you're like, well, this is nothing like what the trailers showed me.
Like that was the split story I was talking about, where it would be cool to have it where you're like, oh, should I kill this guy or no? Although no one would, kill Master Chief. What's cool is that's the way that... I feel bad because I just cut off Yair a little bit. That's the way that Destiny is going now with the Drifter storyline. Because they have it where it's like, you can side with the Drifter or you can side with the Vanguard. And they're like, oh, it's going to affect future story decisions. Just to let you know, so.
That was one of the... I made 2 points there, actually, because I was going to bring that up earlier when we were talking about the abilities and stuff with the Spartans and things. That was my concern. Like, there's a fine line where there's a sci-fi, because, Halo and Destiny are both sci-fi, but they're so different, and I would hate to see Halo become too much like Destiny.
Yeah.
I think that would really kill the franchise for me.
That's what I feel like would be bad if this is a looter shooter, because the loot aspect of it, you can't in Halo, you can't have a rocket launcher that is only doing 3 damage to a grunt. You hit it with it and it's like, oh, I'm still alive. So
right.
Yeah.
It would lose
and the market's so flooded with them right now too.
Well, even when Anthem came out, one of the biggest criticisms about it was that it was a looter shooter.
So I think the way
people are still salty after Destiny.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Salty is a bad term, but
rightfully
upset.
It's appropriate.
They're
upset
it's
because
easy
it's just,
to compare.
It's easy to screw
Destiny.
up the loot. What the hell's... They have a term for it. But basically, like the cycle you go to get the loot, to then do the harder things, to then get the better loot.
The feedback loop.
Yes, thank you. Feedback loop. If that's not dialed in well enough, then it becomes too grindy, or it doesn't feel like you've got a challenge. You've got to get that part just right. One way they could, I think, address the whole looter shooter aspect for a Halo game, because that rocket launcher is a good analogy. You could tier certain weapons, so rocket launchers could obviously be high tier things that you just don't get at lower levels. Or you could do something with like weapon attachments being a way to kind of take a normal gun and then turn it into a better weapon, kind of like how Apex does it,
or Halo 5,
like
even how Halo 5 has their setup.
Yeah. You've got all those regular guns, but then you get progressively better attachments, which changes the role for the weapon and then improves it as well.
I think having it be similar to, if it is a looter shooter, having it be similar to how Borderlands has theirs structured out, where you can get any rarity gun at any level, and the upper level rarities are going to carry you forward for a few levels, assuming that they use a leveling system at all in this game, or if they are doing this. But like an upper legendary weapon like the Unkempt Herald can carry you like 10 levels before you get rid of it, before it becomes close to being obsolete. So I think that's one way they can really address it. But if they don't get it right, the game is going to flop and it's going to be $550 million lost.
You had $550 million.
It's going to be Anthem, where they had 7 years to make a game and they're like, we did it in 6 months.
Well, there was some weird stuff going on with Anthem.
But you've got a point though. That's kind of the whole formula nowadays for games is like, hey, spend a decent amount in marketing so it looks better than what it is, and then punch out some mediocre shit, and everybody buys it on day one, and there you go, profit.
And this is the thing that I'm sorry if I am getting quieter and quieter because it's 12 o'clock and my parents are asleep. But too big to fail comes to mind when I hear about this budget, and that is something that worries me.
Too big to fail.
And I agree with you. Like, it's
no iceberg could bring us down. We're the Titanic,
really and it's not even like kind of like under like observation, like deep, scrutiny. I don't know what the right term here is. Where people already have a sour taste for it, and then if this messes it up, this could be, a big hit for Microsoft in 343.
So what's interesting is how, when they're releasing it, but how they're releasing Master Chief Collection as well for PC, where it's coming out, a few months, like they're releasing Reach first, and then they're going to be like a few months they'll release the original Halo, and then a few months they'll release Halo 2, and so on and so forth. I think that we're going to see, in terms of Halo 5's release, we're going to see the fan base for Halo games really build up. And then depending on what happens with Halo 5, or not Halo 5, I'm sorry, Halo Infinity. Yeah. We're going to see either that player base explode or just totally die. So
I'm just naturally kind of wary now of all game development with how they've gone. So I would say that's awesome. The whole let's re-release all of the games remastered, and then
in one package.
We'll end it with and then we'll end it with us dropping the new game. But at the same time, I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, well, are they doing that so they can like grab everybody with nostalgia and get them on board for the new game, and then it's going to be garbage?
But the thing is, sorry for cutting you off.
No, I was kind of done. I had just that little tidbit of a thought.
I don't think it's going to be nostalgia, because I have to play Halo 5 last, and they're going to be like, what? Like, what happened? Halo 4. I still think Halo 4 was one of the better games in the series, but then, Halo 5 kind of gives the series a bad name.
True.
Not because it wasn't, like, mechanically it felt good, but storytelling was just like, we had this one boss and we're gonna use him 6,000 times, and we're gonna call him the Warden Eternal.
See, I liked the idea of the Warden Eternal. It's just I felt like they did a horrible job of making him into this menacing figure.
He didn't seem threatening at all.
Yeah,
he's just
all they really did was make him unkillable, and it's like, okay.
He's like, I've returned to fight you.
That is one of my issues with the Forerunners, though. Honestly, like, they kind of create them as these really, like, Assassin's Creed Forerunner mystical looking characters, and I don't know, they kind of take away from the military-esque feeling of these games already.
Right.
I don't know if that makes sense.
It goes from being I don't want to say realistic sci-fi shooter, but it goes from being like a military sort of hardcore or semi-hardcore shooter to like, here's some robots in space, guys, better fight them. Also, this one can respawn an infinite number of times, and he's not menacing at all, and he gets shut down by Cortana at every turn.
I see the aspect about him I thought that they should have played to was the fact that he has like this whole omnipresence sort of deal going on. So you could have him like interfering with a bunch of different things all at once if they just played to that.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I don't know enough about him to really say anything about him. I just know he teleported and showed up at like the most inopportune times. And there's also a part where you're supposed to fight like 2 or 3 of him, and you can actually skip that entire. You can skip that entire fight sequence by run boosting off one of the ramps, and it always makes me happy because those are like the stupidest fights in any video game that I've ever played. It's just like there's no point in this. He's here to artificially extend the game.
Yeah. I personally don't like the Warden that much. I thought after the first fight, he felt kind of. Yeah.
That's the thing too. He shows up for one fight, and you're like, "Oh, cool! This game's gonna have bosses, and they'll have some sort of mechanic to defeating them." But instead, they're like, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste.
There's something so interesting about bosses to me. I don't want to say like it feels like it cheapens a game because it fits with games. Like a game like Devil May Cry having big bosses that you have to fight and use your skills to buy them makes sense. But in a game like Halo, I don't know of having these massive bosses.
Well,
so not
Halo feels as natural.
Yeah, with
Halo 2 kind of had it.
Tartarus was a good boss fight. He had guys swarming him, and he was just kind of, hitting him with his hammer and knocking him off the edge.
Well, I mean,
you had Johnson covering him. He had like a small mechanic. Sorry, he had a small mechanic where it was like he had a very limited time frame that you could hit him in.
Per type of character, not necessarily like bosses like that, because that's fit. I don't know. It's weird. Like the Warden just felt so out of place to me. It felt too mystical, like this big, way bigger than everybody else kind of character that was supposed to be this top character. I don't know. It just felt out of place. Like the Brute, with the giant warhammer and stuff. It felt like it belonged there. But then you have this giant mythical mega mind.
It's like taking science fiction and then adding a extra fiction part to it. So it's like science fiction. It doesn't feel like it necessarily belongs in that area. It's like playing Warhammer Space Marines and then a unicorn showing up. It's like there is no point in that being here. This is a game about blood and gore, and there's a unicorn strolling across the battlefield. Some games can, pull that type of stuff off, but Halo.
Yeah, I don't think Halo's that type of, like, I don't know, I guess it's like the idea that, oh, this guy's bigger than everybody else, so he is a boss, you know? Like, the Brute was the same size as the other Brutes, but he was a villain, he was
built up to.
Yeah, he was a main villain. Of course he's going to be a boss. It's even the Prophet, I think it was, I don't remember which one it was. Even the Prophet was considered a boss, but because he was one of the main villains. But this Warden Wrath was like, oh, he's much bigger than all the other Prometheans, so he's the boss, you know?
Right.
It felt kind of like you were fighting a big demon in Devil May Cry instead of fighting in a Halo game.
Yeah, or like in how Destiny has their bosses, where it's like just a bigger version of a regular enemy.
Yeah.
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 Just it didn't feel like it would fit in this type of game. I really hope they go back to what the other kinds of bosses were. Bosses are built up to be hard and villainous.
Like fighting a Gravemind or fighting Cortana would be interesting.
I never really looked at the Warden, though, as being much of a villain, because his whole purpose was, I'm supposed to defend the domain, and Cortana is basically in charge of that, so I'm trying to defend her, and you're trying to get to her. Like, I think part of his failure was they didn't do a good enough job, like you said, building him up to be and letting the players understand what he is and what his purpose is. But I still thought, as far as a boss character goes, like, this guy's got a lot of options available, especially the fact that, like, he's supposed to be unkillable and everywhere.
I bet you
it's just
for a second.
Yeah, I was like, oh, no. There we go again.
No, it's just in general, I thought that 5 just did a bad job with the story of telling us why I need to care about anybody involved in this.
Right. Only characters.
I like the idea that Master Chief would go out and go against all his beliefs for Cortana, because they build that up on Halo 4, where his whole idea was that I need to get to Earth to save Cortana.
I will do anything.
And somebody he lost dearly, you know, coming back with a chance of him coming back. So it makes sense to me that he would be, you know, his dedication and loyalty to Cortana beats his dedication and loyalty to, you know, the people who have essentially tortured him as a child.
See, I don't know. Just because
I didn't have a problem with the Master Chief team part of the story, because it made sense. Because, I mean, I started in 4 and then played the other stuff.
But just
so that part made sense to me, because they set it up a little bit in 4.
Yeah, but randomly throwing in, you guys are going to play as this other team for 80% of the game just doesn't sit right.
I think that's what killed it, and they didn't set up the Forerunner guy very well either.
Well, the whole story kind of with Cortana wasn't really well established, because half of the game that you play with Master Chief is you trying to fucking locate her, and they don't really explain what all's going on unless you're playing as the other side, and even then they don't do a great job of telling you anything about the domain, why it's important, why we need to stop her. Like, Halsey brings that up, and then she's just like, okay, I'm not really going to tell you why it's important that we need to stop her, but, you know, she doesn't need to be alive.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but where they are in, like, where they start in Halo 5, you kind of had to play the Spartan Ops stuff, right? Because it's in Spartan Ops where they tell you where...
yes and no. Yeah, where Halsey gets her arm chopped off and why they're hunting down this Covenant leader, or this new Covenant leader. I don't think you necessarily have to play it, because I never beat Spartan Ops. But I was
Yeah,
just
that's
like,
what I'm saying. Like,
I
I never
never
really played it. After a while,
I
it's
never
kinda
played
felt the
Spartan
same.
Ops.
but I don't think you really need a reason to know that, you know, I think it's to establish that these guys that you're playing as currently are basically the hitmen of the UNSC. Which would have been a lot cooler
the TV
if
show
they,
did not lead to know that at all.
Nightfall, yeah.
Yeah, it didn't need that at all. For me, at least. I don't know what you guys,
No,
but you just
no.
got to meet Locke as a character, and then it was like, that was it. You know, I hope you enjoyed, you know, the 10 minutes of hunter worms that you got to see.
It was cool because it was directed by Ridley Scott, but other than that,
I never saw that.
Yeah, I agree.
But-
same thing, I guess. Forward Unto Dawn sort of did the same thing too. They were like, we introduced you to this character, but it's 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I really like that one, though. I'm not gonna lie.
I do.
I really
I do
enjoy
too.
Forward Unto Dawn as this perspective of these like Marine scene, not even fully Marines, they're still training, but seeing a Spartan for the first time, you know, and seeing the unknown of the Covenant attacking them. The scene where they're in the tunnels going to the thing, and then the girl's like, "My dad's really, you know, important. Let me in."
She gets
And
on the
they let her
space
in,
elevator,
and
and it just gets shot down. That's so awesome.
Oh, that part was just amazing because it was like, oh my god, you know, they're getting attacked. We know what it is. They don't know what it is. They're scared. He's looking out the windows. He's seeing, you know, Marines landing, ODSTs landing, shooting into like essentially the darkness. They don't know what they're looking at, and then they come around the corner and they run into the first invisible elite.
Right, that scene right there was one of the best ones for me. Just like, you hear it and you know it's an invisible elite, and then you just see it slice that statue in half.
But the interesting thing is they don't know anything about it. We know about it because we play the games. Yeah.
Well,
or when they're finding out slowly through like the camera of the footage they essentially hacked, and they're like, "What is that? What's, you know, who's that guy with that Spartan armor?" They don't know it's Spartan armor, but they're like, "I've never seen that armor before. You know, what's it from?" That stuff was amazing to me because it built on the lore.
Best, and I wish it confirmed this type of assassination, like in Halo 4 and 5, but was when Master Chief takes on the Hunter and he sticks a grenade in his back. I wish that was something we could do in the games. Like, if you sneak up on a Hunter, you melee him in the back, you shove a grenade in his back and blow it up. That would be
even if it doesn't kill it, a lot of damage would be cool.
In Halo 2, like, because the Hunters in Halo 2, they made them so much more badass. Like, they were bigger, they were harder to kill. Like, the previous methods didn't even work on them anymore. Because you went into those fights,
pistol kill.
Yeah. You went into those fights thinking, oh, I'm gonna fight them like I did in Halo 1, and then they just completely revamped how they worked.
So what I did the first time I encountered Halos in Halo 2 was sat on that turret and just spammed the door until they opened it.
Yeah,
because like you knew something was coming. I was just
I want to say I ran right into the middle of the room, thinking like, oh, I'm gonna just kill whatever's coming, and then it was Hunters, and I'm like, oh, this isn't gonna be too hard. It's just Hunters. So I run up to one of them, and then just smacks me and kills me with the fucking hand. Like, well, that ain't gonna work. I need to do something else.
Yeah, man. I like the Hunters. They're probably my favorite enemy in the game. There's something so menacing about the Hunter.
A bunch of worms.
That's like I made my Colossus themed after a Hunter in Anthem.
in Anthem. That's pretty cool.
It even shoots that green poison, so it looks like the green darts.
And an open world Titanfall.
All right. Well,
yeah, that would be kind of fun to play as the Covenant if you could be like a hunter.
Oh my goodness, I would shoot grunts on purpose.
You do that
Launch
with
him. Launch him across the map.
Yeah.
We don't need you. You know how when we play Airsoft and there's little kids there, we'd be like, "Hey, go in that room," and then we see them walk out. We're like, "Okay, there's somebody in that room hiding," and it's kind of like that with the grunts. Hey, go in that room. Oh, they're dead. There's someone in there.
That's what we would do around here too. Like, where's the bad guys at? Here, little kid, run over that way. Gets shot 2 seconds later.
My favorite thing was in one of the Desert Fox videos. He's like, "All right, you guys go in front of me because you're smaller." Like that means anything. That's literally what he tells these two kids, and they are running out in front of him, and like you see them both get hit, but he doesn't. I'm like, he's so smart. He's just using them to get hit. It's basically body shields for him.
Yeah. If you're a little kid and you play Airsoft and you listen to this, it's not true. We're kidding. We would never do that.
We would never subject you to that kind of punishment.
Yeah. I will say this though. I will defend Locke's team a little bit because as much as I didn't like them in the game, I think they added something to the lore that I like to learn about. Kind of like how that girl learns to Healy.
Oh yeah, she was like my favorite part.
Val, how she learns some Healy about how she tells you like, oh, I lived on a ship filled with some Heelys, and I learned the language through there and stuff. It built on the lore. I didn't like them in the game. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then how Locke is kind of like a secret, like hitman for the UNSC.
So that's the thing, though. If they had, like what I was saying, where it was a headhunter game, because Locke was technically a headhunter for Oni. He wasn't necessarily a Spartan at that point. If they build into that character versus slapping him in the middle of something, it would make a lot more sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think that about wraps
up. What if they would have done him like giving him his own little side game so you can get used to him?
Right.
Where it's kind of like the Boba Fett game where you go and kill targets and you take on these missions so you get to know him as a character, get to see his background a little bit, and then do Halo 5 with that. Right. I know it's a lot more money, but I feel like it would have been better. He would have been better received.
They can make money. Honestly, that's. I think they said Halo 5 made $400 million or something crazy. I forget what exactly the number was, but they made an insane amount of money, and it was like within the first 2 months of the game being released. So that's not counting. I forget when it was released. Had to be in November sometime. I think they always have a November release. So it's not counting official holiday sales, not counting microtransaction sales. It made like $400 million, which is why they're putting so much money into Halo Infinite.
I really hope they do really well. I hope it does really well. I hope it doesn't turn into a looter shooter or something. Oh my god.
Something not Halo-y.
Yeah. Something that's more Destiny or Anthem than Halo.
Well, so 343 is developing that, and they now have Destiny's rights too.
What?
Oh, they do? What?
What?
Isn't 343 developing
Bungie.
The new Halo game? It's Bungie?
No, Bungie is. Yeah.
343 is developing the new Halo game. Bungie's developing Destiny.
Okay. I thought it was 343 that bought...
No, Destiny, or Bungie bought themselves out of Activision.
Okay. My mistake.
Which is probably for the
we're all like, wait, what?
Confusing everybody.
Can you imagine? They get bought out by the company they essentially wanted to leave.
Halo Destiny crossover. Ugh.
Crossover. You're fighting the Covenant, and then out of nowhere, the Fallen show up.
The Fallen show up. Yeah, the darkness. Big floating blob.
The forearm elites.
Forearm elites, yeah. Oh, the Hive and the Flood, though. That would be a terrifying combination.
Oh my
Same
goodness.
Thing. Same thing.
All right. Yeah, they really are.
Siva is more terrifying than the Hive. You guys didn't play Rise of Iron, but Siva.
Yeah, I didn't play the Iron part. I skipped it, but I did YouTube it, so
that
you could say I pretty much
was
lived it.
Terrifying.
I just remember seeing it and it looking like a big floating red gooey sort of thing.
It kind of is, and they're bringing it back. That's what that weapon that I sent you was. The Outbreak Perfected. It's a Siva weapon that the Fallen were trying to steal. I still haven't played that mission. I'm not high enough to do it. But it's another dungeon. Similar to Whisper of the Worm.
That's the thing. I really wish they don't do kind of like a like one of those type of games where game as a service situation.
Games as a service is, yeah. Hopefully they won't.
Not with Halo. Or Halo's story. I would be more okay if they were like expansion packs other than game as a service.
I honestly...
I don't know. Even then, I'm still kind of...
The days of map packs are gone.
This can lead into our next week's
our other topics
conversation. Yeah, because this is because you can do games as a service right, and you can do games as a service wrong, and that's all I'm gonna say. Because there are games that absolutely do very well with it right, but we'll discuss that some other time.